Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm very excited to do because from the thumbnail and the title of this video, you know I'm going to be playing with both of these newly launched Oden'S palettes. Both of these palettes were just recently launched and I purchased them with my own money. In today's video, I'm going to show you 2 look tutorials with each of these palettes, and then the makeup look that's on my eyes today is also one of the tutorials in today's video where I used both of these palettes combined. I will show you a few palette comparisons that I have already in my collection that will resemble some of these maybe shades or color stories, and of course my first impression, final thoughts at the end of this video. And as always, underneath this video you can find timestamps for your convenience to navigate through. But before we get started, if you're new here, hi, my name is Eve. I love all things beauty. Here on my channel I share about makeup, skincare, hair care, and at times lifestyle things like travel and fashion. If that sounds interesting to you, I hope you stick around, enjoy this video, and I invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. And now, without further ado, let's dive in. These palettes were just recently launched. However, it took me a little bit of time to receive my package because Oden's is a European beauty brand. They ship from Europe. Oden's brand is considerably new to me. Earlier this year, back in April, I tried their mystery boxes, and at that moment, I really didn't have anything or tried anything from Oden's before, so I decided to go for a mystery box, and I've tried a few items. I will have the video linked for you in the description box if you wanted to see some of my thoughts on those products. Let's say that my interaction with eyeshadow that was included in the mystery box wasn't maybe the best interaction that I thought I would have. At the same time, I knew that Oden's improved their formula over time. So I was definitely still excited to try the new formula one day. So whenever I saw this launch, these color stories, I knew I would have to have them. They're somewhat colorful, somewhat neutral. These are definitely my colors, something that I personally enjoy and get inspired with. I picked up both of the palettes, and today I'm going to show you the looks with each of these palettes, and this look would be a combination of both of these. Initially from the photos, I thought that they were larger by size, and I am actually quite happy that they're a little bit smaller, so they're not taking a lot of space in the storage. The designs are stunning from both of these palettes. So Oden's is a cruelty-free brand. The shelf life for both of these palettes are 36 months, and then they were made in China. I'm starting on the Jewels and Gem palette. To tell you that I am excited to dig my fingers into this palette is an understatement. This corner is calling my name right now. I want to do something with this shade. I'm going to start with this shade called Ecstasy, and I'm going to use my Singe EO3 brush. This is a nice light matte, and I'm going to start putting it into my crease just ever so slightly. Whenever I get a new eyeshadow palette, I like to swatch it first to get familiar with the textures, especially if it's something that's brand new to me. And even with my older palettes, or older brands, I should say, the ones that I'm already familiar with the formula, I still like to swatch. Then I'm gonna go into this shade next. It's called Elation, and I'm using number 7 from Alter Ego brush. And I'm gonna start placing it right here into the arch of my crease. I really like to see the textures of eyeshadows that I'm working with, especially with the brands that I've never tried before. But at times, even the brands that I'm already familiar with, they might sometimes change their formulation or come up with a new formulation, or some things can be pressed differently or encounter some inconsistencies. So me personally, this is again comes to your personal preference. So I like to swatch all my palettes first to see what formulas I'm getting, what finishes I'm getting, because at times they look one way in the palette, and then once you pick it up on a brush or a finger, it may look completely different. So now I'm gonna go into this shade right here called Heaven. It's a really nice mid-tone matte shade, Singe EO5. I like to go back to my previous shade or re-intensify this shade right here. I feel like I lost a little bit of it while blending. I really wanted to show up a little bit more here. Before I finish the lid and outer corner, I would like to go into my lower lash line. I'm gonna go into the dark shade right here. This is the next shade I'm going to be working with, called Intoxication. So now I'm going to go into this shade, Rapture. This is the one that I really want to dig my fingers into. Start building up this outer corner. Wow, this shade is beautiful. Is it going to be the prettiest shade, or the favorite shade, I should say, in the palette? I really want to test this shade right here. I'm going to try to pick it up on a flat brush right now. Yeah, it does have a little bit of texture, so I'm going to try to pack it on my eye, see what happens. I could easily spray the brush, but I want to see the effect that I'm gonna get with my finger. Yes, I do have some fallout here. With a finger, it definitely gives you a little bit more like that opacity. So I'm gonna do kind of both, and I'm gonna go back to my brush. That is beautiful. Let's see if I can just dust this off. Yeah, that didn't really work. So I have a lot of sparkles under my eyes, a lot of purple sparkles under my eyes. So something to be noted. I think I really want to use this shade for my inner corner, and I'm going to go with the number 11 brush from Alter Ego. It's giving me a wet lid effect. I absolutely love the shimmers like that. This is a pretty textured shade as well. Applying it on a stickier base or spraying your brushes, I think will definitely be beneficial. You can also always do your eyes first. What a beautiful ethereal shade. Guys, this is the finished look. I finished it with these 3 products. This is LA Girl Shockwave liner that I used on my waterline in the shade Vivid, a really nice, beautiful purple. My Stila mascara, and then Essence Liquid Black Eyeliner on my upper lash line. And these are all the shades that I used, including this first transition shade. It's a little bit lighter. I think I'm gonna start from this shade right here called Seventh Heaven. I'm gonna do Alter Ego number 6 brush. So far I had no issues. Beautiful color, blended really easily and build up here, just what I wanted. Same color on the lower lash line. This color is very unique. It has a little bit of green in it, but also gray, but also taupe. I'm gonna go into this shade next. This is my Morphe 506. I'm gonna clean off the brush, small circles into the previous shade. Now that the color is blended, you can start packing it in the areas where you want it to be a little bit more concentrated and more opaque and less see-through. This is the technique that I usually do, and it works well for me. I'm gonna pick up the same shade and do the outer lower lash line. Now I think I'm gonna go into this deeper shade, and I would like to place it right here close to my lash line on a pencil brush. This is Refer 03. I'm gonna go into this shade and pick it up on a very small brush. Wiggle it out a little bit here into my inner corner, like diffuse that line that I initially placed. I definitely want to use this color on my inner corner. This seems to be like a duochrome. Let's start from the inner corner and let's see where it takes us. That is so pretty. I can see gold, I can see green, I can see a little bit of even pinkness. There's just so much goodness going on with that shade. Now let's get into this other shade. I'm gonna pick it up on my flat brush. It has a little bit of texture, feels creamy, but has a little bit of texture flakes. I am going to spray this a little bit. This definitely has a little bit more green shift to it. I'm gonna also get this shade, the shimmer shade called Paradise. This has definitely way more texture, so I'm definitely gonna spray this. That was definitely a right decision. This shade, wow, gorgeous. Blending those 2 colors together. Guys, this is the finished look. I did the final touches again with my Stila mascara and LA Girl Shockwave metallic liner in a shade Dragon. This is beautiful teal. And these are all the shades that I used. The duochrome is spectacular. All the shades are beautiful. I want to say that the one that stood out to me a little bit different than the rest is this shade right here. It was a little bit drier in a way. This was a double swatch. Everything else is a single swatch. I wish I would have this makeup palette when I went to see Little Mermaid movie just recently, a few weeks ago. Stone and Rock palette. Beautiful color story. I have been on a green kick lately. If you've been here on my channel for the past month or so, I've been sharing a lot of greenish looks, and I'm not even tired. I continue because I absolutely love these greenish color stories, like the mossy greens. I love those. When I look at this palette, the first thing I want to do is, you know what I want to do, right? You absolutely know what I want to do. This corner right here. I want to do solid smoky eye, this beautiful, like almost like a charcoal black shimmer, calling my name. This white one, you bet I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna start from this shade right here. It's called Jubilance. Now I'm going into this shade right here. It's called Elevated. Really nice, like a charcoal gray. If you guys see this patchiness, this is my eye started watering. Nothing new here. I'm gonna go into the same shade that we just did, Elevated, on a smudger brush, start placing it on my lower lash line, darken this area up a little bit. Pencil brush, Refer 03, go into the matte black Gold Passage and start applying it on my lash line. Now I'm gonna go with even smaller brush, pick up just the smallest amount of this black shade, tap off the axis, just the smallest amount, and start blending it out like this. Not circles, just strokes back and forth. I will fix the situation later on, but my eye doesn't really want to cooperate with me with this outer corner, but that black matte was so easy to work with, and it's very opaque, very nice and matte. Also no fallout. Impressive. Now I want to go into my flat brush, into this shade called Splendid. I picked it up pretty generously on my brush and also sprayed it. Now I'm going into the white shade. It does give you brightness, but I feel like it's a little bit chalky. Then I'm gonna go back into my pencil brush, going into this next shade, Shimmer right here called Frenzy, placing it right here on top of that white matte. This shade has a little bit of shift, and I'm gonna blend it into the black. I'm not covering my entire white inner corner, just a tiny bit in the very center of my inner corner, and then just connecting it, this portion, to the black. The shade gives me a lot of reflect, which is what I like, and kind of lightening up the entire eye. Guys, this is a finished look. I did my best to fix my outer corner. I did my finishing touches with the Essence Liquid Black Liner, Stila Mascara, and this pencil from Believe Beauty in the shade So Slate. It's beautiful gray opaque shade. This went on my waterline. These are all the shades that I used. This shade felt a little bit on a drier side, and this shade was a lot. It was very creamy. There was a little bit more texture, but it's gorgeous. Look at the swatch, single swatch, absolutely stunning. The black shade is absolutely beautiful, full opacity. This is also a single swatch, easy to work with, blend it out easily. Very nice formula. This white one, like I said, it's a little bit chalky. However, it's still workable. It would give you opacity. Let's do this shade right here. Let's start from there. This is the shade Jubilance. I'm using my Alter Ego number 6 brush. I'll do this shade right here. I haven't tried it yet. It's called Exuberance. Very beautiful shade, and it blends into the previous shade really easily. I really feel like I need to go into this shade. I just have to. It's called Madness. I'm on a flat brush, just in my inner corner. Oh, it's beautiful. I want to make it a little bit more neutral, so I'm gonna add this color Jubilant on the lower lash line. I'm gonna leave this outer corner untouched a little bit for a time being, and I'm going to go into my smaller brush, and I want to bring this shade here. It's almost like a taupey gray shade. I'm gonna build up this outer corner a little bit. My pencil brush, go into the same shade. I like to play with this shade right here. This is very foily and creamy. Creamier than other shades. I feel like it doesn't really stick too well with the brush. Let me see if I can apply it with my finger. Beautiful beautiful neutral shade. I kind of want to just here blend it a little bit into this. In my inner corner, I like to do this gold shade. This seems to be like very soft and flaky shade, just the same way as this one was. I got a little bit of a fallout here from this shimmer shade that I placed, but for most part, most of these shimmers need to be sprayed for full effect and for less of fallout. And then, of course, doing your eyes first would be preferred with this formula. But all these shimmers are just gorgeous. Wow. I want to build it up a little bit. Like I want like seriously sparkly gold inner corner. That is so pretty. This is the finished look. I did finishing touches with these 3 products and mascara, Stila mascara, Essence liquid liner, and I used this pencil on the waterline. This is from Believe Beauty in the shade Olivia. I'll show you the swatches in just a second. And this is Gilded Shadow Stick from Milani. This is a swatch from Milani pencil. This is Olivia from Believe Beauty pencil. Like I said earlier, this shade is a little bit drier than the rest of them. These 2 shades are quite flaky, but on the swatch you see this is much creamier for some reason than this one. However, on the pickup of the brush and fingers kind of seemed the same, but the effect from this golder shade is spectacular. It's just like giving you so much foiliness. Anyway, this is a makeup look. So for this last look, I actually want to do mixture of 2 palettes. I had my eyes prepped with the Born This Way concealer. I'm gonna go into this shade first, just for a very soft transitional shade right here. Then I'm gonna go into this shade next. This is called Elysian. Now I'm gonna go into this shade, which seems to be like a deep burgundy, brownish burgundy shade called Sazzle. Build up this outer corner and a little bit into the crease as well. Same shade, just a different brush. I want a little bit more precise brush to build up this outer corner really nicely. Shade Elysian on the lower lash line. I want to put this emerald shade all over my lid. This is such a beautiful smooth shade. It applies very well with the brush. It feels creamy on the pickup and there's no fallout. Wow, super smooth. And then I'm going back to this palette and into this shade for my inner corner, the shade called Rhapsody on a small pencil brush. Okay guys, this is the finished look. Let me show you what I used for the finishing touches. I used this Catrice 20-hour Ultra Precision Gel Eye Pencil. This is a waterproof formula. This is in the shade Warm Green, a very nice precise pencil. I use it on my waterline and I use my Essence black liquid eyeliner and my Stila mascara. For my lip liner, I used my recent favorite, One Size Beauty in the shade Shy But Fly. And then this lip gloss you guys need to know about. This works perfectly on its own, but also is a great topper. This is Ludacris from Milani lip gloss in the shade 110 Luster Light. So these are all the shades that I used for the look. This was one of the palettes and this shade came from Stoner Rock. So when I thought of showing some of the palette comparisons, I really didn't think that even with my really big collection where I have more than 100 eyeshadow palettes, these 2 palettes were really similar to anything. However, there are some finishes that I wanted to just throw it out there as a food for thought. Some of the finishes and some of the shades in the palette would remind me of other palettes and actually happen to be one specific brand. There is somewhat of a resemblance here within the tones. The look that I'm wearing on my eye today, I think somewhat you will be able to recreate with this palette if you already have it. I also thought about this palette, Rose Quartz, one of my favorites. It does have some of those like cooler tone pinks and amazing shimmers. And then if you were thinking again of the burgundy, very old palette, and a lot of people already decluttered it, I still have it in my collection. The new nude from Huda Beauty, again, it would have a lot of beautiful like burgundy, like mauve purplish tone, because this look pulls very purple on me. These are just some of the thoughts that I first think about. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else that's similar. And when it comes to Stone and Rock palette, I know that most of you just want to see if they compare to both of these palettes, Nomad and Natasha Denona YUCCA palette. I'm going to show them to you side by side in just a moment. I just wanted to say that I do have dedicated videos on both of these palettes where I also showed some other palette comparisons. I will have those videos also linked for you in the description box just for the reference for cross-watching. Well, this palette is so beautiful. I love the greens. I love that there's contrast here. This corner right here has a lot of depth. So here are the two palettes. At first they may seem like they're very similar, but honestly they're not the same to my opinion. Nomad palette has a lot of neutrals, warm neutrals, cool neutrals, and a row of greens. And then this palette is a lot of greens, really nice deeper shades. Like I said, some resemblance, but I don't see too much of it. And as far as the formulas, like if I would have to recommend a formula, I think this knocked it out of the park. Both mattes and shimmers, exceptional. And as far as Natasha Denona palette, I think that they're just very different palettes. Natasha Denona is incredible formula, both mattes and shimmers, and Oden's Eye as well. The formulation is exceptional. Like I said earlier, I do love that Oden's Eye has a matte white and matte black, and this matte black shade here is so good. As a bottom line, I think both of these formulas are really, really good, very solid throughout. I think there's more warmness in Natasha Denona, and there's a little bit more grunginess in Oden's Eye. If you had both of these palettes on your wish list, I don't think you would be disappointed having them both. Now let me give you my first impression, final thoughts on both of these palettes. This formula does not even compare to that eyeshadow palette that I tried back in April. This is their obviously new, updated, current eyeshadow formula. 3 words: wow, incredible, impressive. Both of the palettes are just such a solid formulation. These palettes retail for $40, and I think the quality for that price is incredible. I don't think this is a summery palette. That's my opinion. I see fall, I see winter. I really love that this palette gives you a lot of range from lighter to darker, both mattes and shimmers. I personally find palettes like that inspirational and very friendly, easier to work with, even for beginners. There are a few different shimmer formulations here in this palette. For example, like this one's there, a little bit more of like your flaky, foily shimmers. This shade I have in my inner corner today. It's very beautiful, smooth, reflective. There's like a traditional shimmer here, and this one seemed to be more of a topper with like a grayish black base. All of them perform really well. There's a slight like kickoff on the pickup of the matte shades. However, I didn't experience any fallout when blending the shades. They're buildable, they're blendable, they pack really nicely. So to my opinion, it just checked all the boxes on my list. And as far as shimmers, I just love them to be impactful, but not impactful like looking heavy on the eye. They're just bam in your face, very sparkly, reflective, like I said, but not looking heavy on the lids and not accentuating the texture. This Stone and Rock palette is very beautiful. I know I'm gonna love this palette, and I know I'm gonna get use out of this. You need to obviously like greens to have this palette or even consider purchasing this palette. Most of these are foils, like all these 5s seem to be foils. This one has a little bit more texture, but it's so creamy. The black matte shade here is incredible. Some black matte shades can be very iffy. This one is very, very good quality. Very nice black, opaque, but also blends and packs really nicely. Doesn't turn into a messy patchiness. So these are my initial thoughts on both of the palettes. I have to say that I was quite impressed, and this is not something that I didn't expect. Like I said, I heard so many wonderful things about their new Oden's Eye formulation of the eyeshadows. So this actually was even more than I expected. I would like to know if you picked up any of these 2 palettes, or if you decided to opt out. Let me know if you enjoy makeup look tutorials that I shared with you today and which one was your favorite. If you like to see more makeup look tutorials with dedicated palettes, I will add the playlist in the cards at the end of this video for you to enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, give this a big thumb up. And if you're not yet a subscriber, I invite you to do so before you leave. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today, and I will see you in my next videos.